Let's talk about the quarterfinals, Thorin. We got to start FlyQuest versus Gen.G. I am dying to hear your thoughts on this and whether you think this was an overreaction from NA fans about the performance, what you thought of Gen.G's performance. Like, is FlyQuest an international threat at this point in time? Thorin, was this the real World Finals in the quarterfinals?
Here's what's funny is I actually was waiting for this because I already knew, because especially obviously there's so many people who are like legacy fans or T1 fans who want to hate on Chovy. They want Gen.G to be frauds, bro. They want it to turn out that they weren't actually that good and only T1's the good LCK team. You know what's funny? I was loving this series, Monty, and here's why. Because I bet on esports, don't I? So the only world, Monty, where I was ever going to get good odds for Gen.G against T1 is if Gen.G somehow looked fraudulent. Because I think, like you've hinted there, this is the one series, I alluded to it earlier, I actually think LS actually is right. I think it was doing weird picks and silly draft things that actually was able to get like it wasn't even like an edge. It was just like unique angles where you could win a game, or you had like where you could play something out that wasn't like what people would expect. You could tell by the way Gen.G had never played against some of these comps, or they didn't actually know like how they were going to play. So I think essentially this is an example of where styles make fights, as they say. And this particular one was very interesting. Like obviously Gen.G was on the look, here's the other problem as well. They also did do that thing, Monty, where some of their game wins were also very dominant. Like some of theirs, like they did have one where they had like one was game 4 where they absolutely clapped them. Like they had some times where they looked really good. So I think people will overreact and think Gen.G sucks because of this. Whereas I would more say interesting angle from FlyQuest. They actually did, like you said about the Masso angle. If someone told me actually their ADC is going to be like one of the best players in the server, then maybe we have a chance. Like there was some good players in this series for sure. But by the way, on paper, it absolutely would have been the biggest upset in history. Like this is, remember, Gen.G absolutely credibly, they still might be as being talked about as like they might be the best League of Legends team ever. Well, the idea a Western team actually beats with only one Korean beats that squad would have been mental in a best of 5.
Especially but with Chovy's like DRX understudy. Like the story is great.
Yeah. I do think it was a little bit overhyped. It was a mega series though. If you wanted thrills.
It's all the fans ever want, Thorin. They just want the jump scare, right? They're not into the psychological horror. They're just into the jump scare that thrills them temporarily. And it was a bit of a jump scare, you know, to put out your point. Like, you know, Dom said this on Power Spike, and I agree with him, which is like typically FlyQuest has suffered in the early game, and when they have the mistakes in the early game, whether it's dying in lane, like I talked all year, guys, about Masu and Busio or Bwipo just randomly dying in lane and then causing very, very difficult situations for Inspired to deal with and try and triage. That has gotten significantly better as the year has gone on. And to the degree that, especially in Masu and Busio's case, almost evaporated at Worlds. Like we're not seeing the dumb all-ins and the dumb deaths anymore. And part of that is, guess who scooped up Mithy when the opportunity was right? It was FlyQuest. They brought him in. I was incredibly critical of Busio this year, and for good reason. He was useless in spring playoffs and at MSI. He would literally run around in a team fight like a chicken with his head cut off using no abilities, guys. Like actually straight inting. And I think he had nerve issues, but honestly, bringing in Mithy, and he has had a massive glow up, I think, this split in particular. Part of that's having, you know, more experience. You know, I don't think he got a lot of help when he was on 100 Thieves with Double Lift previously. This is only the second year of his play, but he looked massively improved, and he was a big playmaker in this series. So this is what I mean, guys. If a player's going to show up, typically they show up in the first couple years. You know, sometimes there's going to be a bad team that they're on. Maybe they let go and they get remotivated, or they find, you know, another gear that they can shift into. But this has been a massive glow up for Busio in particular, and I do want to recognize that. Masu was always mechanically gifted. It was more about his decision making. Quad was clearly an immense upgrade over Jensen, who was just insanely washed. And then we still have Inspired and Bwipo. And Bwipo is a polarizing player, but when he does things well, he does them very well. You just have to understand what Bwipo is. Like, he is the wild card you can throw in there, and sometimes those factors will make you win games. They will also cause you to lose games. That's just, you got to take the bad with the good. Do I think that FlyQuest would probably be better with somebody not Bwipo? Yes.
Here's the problem, Monty. You've just You've just blown everyone's mind there. How can that be? Bwipo's the reason why they had a chance. This is where Bwipo giveth and Bwipo taketh. Because you know what, Monty? When he was playing Urgot, it shouldn't even be a champion, but he is just uniquely good at that champion. And so if you get him in the game, he can do shit on it. The Galio wasn't bad. That was quite an interesting angle. But there's two things here. One, here's the problem with Bwipo. You can also predict him, Monty. Like if you just leave Renekton up, what do you think he's going to lock in? That's a flaw, mate. They want you to pick the Renekton. And by the way, I want to just know this. On game 5, remember, Monty, for game 5, you have to think like a coach. You have to think, at the end of this draft, when I can't talk to these players anymore, am I comfortable with what they've locked in that they can now win the game? When he locked in Set, what did you think? Because when I saw that, I was like, I think Gen.G's getting this, boys. You know what I mean? Like, listen, we've got a fiddlestick Set draft. I feel like it could be the greatest upset of all time. I don't think it's happening, personally. I think we've cooked a bit too much on that one. What do you think?
Yeah. I think like that last draft was a bit.
Even said, I think Elias on Twitter was even like when he locked in the set, he was like, "I guess I'm going off the balcony tonight." Yeah, no shit. What are we gonna do? It's the reach.
Look, I think when it boils down to this series, you have to there are good things about FlyQuest performance, undoubtedly, right?
Sure.
A criticism you can make about the history of North American League of Legends is that when good teams give NA teams an opportunity to win the game, the NA team doesn't close, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah, for
they
sure.
closed. They did.
Yep.
They really did close.
Yeah.
Was it the cleanest? Could we have argued in game number 1, like, why are we going Baron when the Dragon Soul's coming up? They didn't obviously know that, the bounties were going to trigger. And also, fuck this game, League of Legends, where Gen.G is literally down, Baron dies, Gen.G it triggers bounties. Gen.G walks to mid lane, takes mid lane turret, the bounties don't spawn by for mid lane turret, spawn. Then they immediately get Drake for free. Then they immediately get bottom tower for free. Then they immediately get top tower for free. And they just get all the bounty gold and just catch up. And then now there's a negative Baron power play for FlyQuest.
Yes.
Like, that is bullshit. That is bullshit. The prize for Gen.G should have been, we just take the Drake and prevent you from getting soul, and now you can push. Like, the fact that they were able to close the gold gap and eliminate the Baron advantage was so insanely dog shit, because they were only like 4 or 5k gold down when that sequence started to happen. But because FlyQuest had 3 Drakes and because they had the Baron, now the bounty system comes into place. And it's another opaque mechanic in this game where nobody actually knows how the bounties are triggered, right?
Yes.
We have an idea, but nobody's actually said like these are the parameters. And it's really annoying. And like Gen.G, I think, should be clapped out of that game. Like they should, that rubber band mechanic in that scenario is horse shit and should not be allowed to exist. So I was pretty frustrated with that. It's like seeing that in that game and how fast they were able to like close the gold gap again, for reasons that had nothing to do with FlyQuest's skill or Gen.G's skill, right? It's just kind of arbitrarily inserted into the perfect moment in time for Gen.G to make that kind of comeback.
By the way, I'll go on.
No, I was just going to say, like, but Gen.G, in the games that they lost, they made very big mistakes. And FlyQuest wasn't punished. Yes. They had, arguably better lane swaps some of the time, which is, something that I think they've massively improved on. But if we just literally look at some of the plays Gen.G has made, and if we look at how Gen.G has lost this year, they haven't lost very much, but when they lose, it is because they underestimate their opponents and they start doing dumb shit. And you are not going to convince me that first fight at Grubs where Keen like lands a great equalizer and then they have a split call and like Chovy is just ulting into 3 of them. And then Busio.
That was in it, bro, for real. Yeah. That's how you know. I'll even point out where people are biased. Just because he's Chovy doesn't mean he's allowed to do that. Like, he just got popped. It was ridiculous, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, and maybe the call was that they were going in.
Sure.
But Canyon was literally just sitting on Grubs and you chunked them out. So you could go in on that play if they were going in, or you could just walk away and get the Grubs for free. But the fact that Chovy goes in, and again, credit, that's a throw. Who caught it? Busio caught it. He came and he just instantly, flashed, like headbutt polved, got the pick. They killed Chovy. It's a great play from FlyQuest. What is encouraging is that you typically do not see that level of awareness or that level of punish from NA teams. And FlyQuest played a scaling game, right? And I don't think like the Jinx pick was necessarily very good for Gen.G here. Like clearly they're trying to get like a Jinx reset comp. But the problem with getting a Jinx reset comp is that FlyQuest is fucking running Xin Zhao, Alistar, Seraphine. Like Xin Zhao is, if he gets low, he just ults. If Alistar gets caught, he just ults.
Seraphine was also mega for all the healing and shit, wasn't it? Yeah.
Seraphine just provides immense shields. Then they get a fucking Mountain Soul in this game. Like it is actually like unwinnable for a Jinx reset comp unless the Jinx is incredibly fed. Yeah. So FlyQuest did a great job of the read. I do think their coaching staff, really prepared for this. Obviously, FlyQuest was trying to leverage some of NA's expertise in using Seraphine, which is a champion that's just like not used in other regions.
It's not played anywhere else, guys.
Right, but if you don't punish Seraphine, she just scales insanely. True. And so FlyQuest was able to use that. So like I do think like credit is due to FlyQuest, and they did, quibbles aside about like Baron over Soul, they did do a pretty effective job of just slamming the door shut on Gen.G, controlling the vision around objectives, forcing Gen.G into awkward situations. But it was, let's not, we shouldn't overstate, FlyQuest's strengths when we can also say that Gen.G should not have been in that position. Like it was their errors that put them there, and they played badly. The other game that they lost, for example, Bwipo TP's bot. They don't like, that is a punishable play. That is a punishable play. Masu and Busio were not doing well in the bot lane. Bwipo was winning top because Gen.G had a terrible level 1 where Keen got to lane late and he's laning Renekton into Urgot. And at that point in time, Bwipo is basically attempting to transfer his lead into the bottom side, right? He pushes up, he starts proxying the wave. Gen.G's trying to dive the bot lane. He sees this opportunity, but they fail to get the kill. And it's only because Gen.G re-engages that the double kill even happens for Masu, and then they're off to the races. So like if they just walk away from that, or if they get the kill, if Gen.G gets the kill, that becomes a very different play. Bwipo's super far behind. They don't get any advantages. He's now a top laner in the bot lane with no TP. Keen catches right back up. Keen had a very good, he's had some very good games on Renekton. Keen was the best player on Gen.G in this series, in my opinion. So also Pays and Lehens were like really bad in this series. They were bad. Sure. It got even to the point, Thorin, where I was like, what is Lehens doing? If you see Ashe Seraphine, doesn't Lehens play Blitzcrank? Isn't that what Lehens does? Like you can't give him a Blitzcrank angle like that. That's crazy. Why wasn't he taking it? So anyway, there's a lot going on here, but like it is a combination of both FlyQuest playing really well, but also Gen.G like being super disappointing in terms of their prep, in terms of their individual abilities, in terms of their teamwork and their cohesion and their decision making. Like this was a bad day for Gen.G. It's a bad day.
But like I say, even as much as FlyQuest could have won, there was also some moments that were quite embarrassing. Like after that first game where you get so hyped, then they lose to fucking Kassadin and just get their shit pushed in completely. Like,
I mean, that was probably Jovi's best individual game.
It's hilarious, wasn't it?
But I mean, I can explain the Kassadin pick to you, Thorin, because it actually is a good pick in this situation, I think.
Okay.
Because people will tunnel on the fact that the Kassadin Nidalee jungle mid synergy is shit. That is just true. Like Nidalee loves lane setup, right? To land a spear, to all in. Kassadin's a weak early game jungler. He provides you nothing to help with Nidalee. He literally like can't respond to ganks pre-6. So like it's not a good pick for it. He also can't create pressure in lane in any matchup basically. And so if you're Nidalee and you want to invade the enemy jungle and play around mid pressure, it's bad. Okay. So, but the thing is that as bad as that synergy is, the champions that FlyQuest picks are very good for Kassadin. And Kassadin, first off, he's bad into AD mid matchups. He knows he's playing into Ori. Okay, so that's number one. His passive gives him a 10% damage reduction to magic damage. Okay, he also has the magic damage shield on his Q. Then you're wondering, okay, well, what about this Nunu? Well, it helps that they have an AP jungler as well. It's not an AD mid, and an AD jungler. It's not even some combination of AP and AD. It's literally all magic damage. So again, gets extra value out of the passive, gets extra value out of the magic shield. On top of that, Q, which used to be a silence, was changed on the Kassadin rework to give a channel interrupt. Nunu's ult is a channel. So basically he can cancel Nunu's ult whenever he wants to. That's excellent. And then he's also very good into Ezreal. And you may be like, why is he good into Ezreal? Well, Ezreal spams skills. Void Pulse, which is Kassadin's E, his like cone that slows people and does a gazillion damage, is power. It gets its cooldown reduced every time the enemy casts a spell around him. So if you have champions like Ezreal that are just throwing out a million spells every few seconds, his E cooldown just drops to like 0, and he's just constantly spamming it. And the power of Ezreal is obviously you get to reposition, right? He's very mobile AD carry. But Kassadin has an infinite number of blinks, so Ezreal cannot escape. He cannot escape. So Ezreal is both powering up Kassadin and he cannot escape from him at the same time. So it's really miserable. There's also no lockdown really on the composition because it's Renekton, Nunu, Orianna, Ezreal, Rakan. Like who is supposed to CC the Kassadin? You have no point and click CC. I mean, basically, like the Renekton should never be close to him. And Busio should never be able to hit him with anything with Rakan. So, you know, you don't have an Ashe to like kite him or anything like that. You don't have a Maokai just to like W him or do any of this. So it is a very free Kassadin game because you both cannot punish his laning phase very easily, and your composition is just kind of bad into Kassadin. So it was a pretty fun angle, I think, to see from Chovy there, and it was very creative.
Problem is, though, did you ever actually believe Gen.G was going to lose the series? Because like game 5 was like the letdown, wasn't it? You know, you couldn't really believe it. Like I said, game 4 was the clap, and game 5 was the letdown.
Right. I think I do have some bones to pick with FlyQuest game 4 draft. Because for me, when you're up 2-1, that's the game where the weird shit comes in, right?
Yes, agreed. Yes, they played too safe, right?
They played Renekton, Sejuani, Orianna, Ezreal, Rakan. Like, I just don't think you're going to beat Gen.G with like a fully standard playstyle, right? And I don't think that when you give Keen K'Sante, he is the best K'Sante player in the world. I don't think Nidalee's even necessarily good, but Canyon is just so good at Nidalee, it may not matter. And I also think, you know, you've heard me complain about this, Thorin, but I have been banging on the fact that Gen.G just abandoned the Tristana picks. They abandoned it. Like, they should have played it in the finals versus Hanwha. Didn't play it. Just let Zeka have it or banned it themselves.
No, he's just so insanely good on it, isn't it? You'd think he'd force it every time it's available.
Also good for their play style. Like, Chovy wants to be in the side lane CSing and creating pressure. That's how they play the game. Tristana is the best mid in the game to do that. So I just thought it was entirely bizarre that so the last time we really saw them use Tristana was when they played Hanwha in the very last game of the summer season. They played Hanwha. They beat him 2-0. They played Tristana both times. This caused Hanwha to ban Tristana in every game of the upper bracket final that Gen.G won, right? And then it was in the finals that they just gave it away for free or banned it themselves. And then at Worlds, they just hadn't played it. And I just found it so bizarre because this was, I mean, it's a pick that Chovy is individually extremely good on. He did fuck up his buffer, you know, and die to a stupid Orianna ult. That's true. I don't think this was a great series from Chovy.
It was.
But, you know, the Tristana is a very good pick for Chovy as a player. And it's a very good pick for Gen.G as a team. And it's something that I really wanted to see them bring back. And you guys have heard me say that on this show over and over and over again, right? So I do think, like, trying to play the standard composition and then attempting to play into like Ashe, Trist, Nidalee, K'Sante and giving all that to Gen.G, probably not the move, right? And then we get to game 5 and it's like, well, why are we sending it with wacky picks now? And also,
and the Gen.G draft's so interesting, mate. Like the way they did it, it's just like, these are just cynical, mate. We'll just take all these champions. Thank you.
And you know, the way the meta is developing, Thorin, is basically like, you know, the 3 red side bans are Yone, Aurora, Skarner, okay? And you can either choose to ban all three of these, basically, or hope that blue side bans one of them, or you have to just kind of leave them up and then just kind of let the chips fall where they may and hopefully get like a couple of these picks. The thing about FlyQuest is they can't play Aurora, so they have to ban it now on blue side when Gen.G doesn't ban it. And they, Quad's not a great Yone player.
No, exactly. That's the problem.
And so you take the Yone, and I heard they did an interview with Inspired after the games were over, and Inspired said they forgot that Gen.G played Smolder, which is
impossible,
unbelievable.
I know.
Because they have played Smolder multiple games at this World Championship.
This is even the matchup that all the Korean mids play. It's Yone and Smolder.
Yes.
We play all game.
Chovy has played this matchup in the upper bracket finals of the summer playoffs versus Hanwha Life, and he plays it exclusively either into ranged AD or into Yone. That's it. He plays it into Tristana, plays it into Lucian, plays it into Yone. You know what I mean?
Why is Inspired doing that shit excuse to produce as a Game of Thrones mid? You know, when there was that episode in the last season where she just inexplicably lost one of her dragons because it just got shot down, and then they said that weird thing like, "Oh, she forgot that fleet was out there." You know, they made that like mad comment. Why are they using that about Chovy, the best player in the world, and what he plays mid lane, for fuck's sake? How are you forgetting on Game 5 the draft? What are you talking about, bro?
Right,
That's
and so
mental.
you have to actually say, and like he's been. He's been especially good on the Smolder, right?
It's mega.
Even in games that he has lost on Smolder, he himself has looked really good.
Yeah.
And then basically there's a team-wide collapse here where we basically can't create pressure on the mid lane. Smolder is just shitting on Yone in the mid lane, even more than normal. And like I'm doing the VOD review on my stream of this game, and I'm like, dear God, he's got like 125 stacks at like 13 minutes into this game, or like 12 minutes into this game. He gets 225 stacks at 18 minutes into the game. Now that's like pre-patch Smolder like speed. That would be fast even for pre-patch Smolder. But because he's freely trading on the Yone, he's getting so many advantages in these fights, like he just comes online extremely quickly. And Gen.G, I think they realized that as long as they pick scaling, like FlyQuest couldn't do shit in this series. Because what do? We just go back to Smolder Ziggs. Ziggs has basically fallen out of the bans, and teams still haven't been picking it. But I think here it was very prescient, because if you take Rumble and you take Smolder and you take Ziggs, you could turtle forever. You just, all three of those champions get ult waves, and that's it. There is no more wave, right? You can turtle forever. If they try to dive you, Maokai and Skarner. Like, they can't, FlyQuest, people will say, oh man, if only they had snuck that Baron. Their comp is, their comp doesn't even make sense. It's Set, Fiddlesticks, Yone, Kalista, Alistair, okay? So, let's pretend they get Baron. How do they siege a turret? Tell me how you siege a turret with that composition. Like, they will just clear the waves on you forever. I don't even think it matters if FlyQuest get that Baron. I do think it was a good Baron attempt by them, and I do think they read the game state and were we definitely lose if we don't get this Baron, and we have Fiddle and Kalista so we can two-man it. I think Bwipo on set should have stayed in the top lane.
People are mistaken that, winning that Baron doesn't win you the game. Come on.
Yeah.
Would still have been it. You still have plenty left to do to close that game out.
Right. And you have plenty left to do. And you are still at a massive disadvantage. And I don't even think you can actually put pressure on with the Baron. So, there was too much map control, too much ability to turtle, too much scaling. I think Gen.G had just downloaded them by that point in time. And when you don't make the early moves, when they don't get the Alistair roams off, or they don't get the Fiddlestick ganks off, it's just over. It's fucking over, right? And FlyQuest hasn't been the most active early game team. They have not been the most successful early game team in the world. We know that about them. They never will be, because Inspired is there, right? And that's not who Inspired is as a player.
Oh, of course not.
So the problem is Gen.G tried to play some more early game compositions. I don't think that's who Gen.G is. Gen.G is the super annoying.
Oh, of course.
We just cross
is what they do. Yeah, they just scale up as well.
What they do is they avoid you. They trade up in cross maps, and then they fight you when at third, fourth Drake. And then they win that fight because they have 4,000 more gold than you.
That was even the uncharacteristic thing early in the series that let FlyQuest get ahead. It's Gen.G was, like you say, was opting into so many fights where you could just walk away. And then FlyQuest, I'll give them credit, was being decisive, and they were turning the fights and all going ham. And Massa was doing some fucking crazy shit. But At the end of the day, if you want to be really cynical, Monty, you go back and you look, you won 2 games. One of them you had Seraphine and the other one you had Urgot. So it's like, you know what? You cooked. But then, as I say, in game 5, you overcooked. You burned the fucking cookies. So, unfortunately, you overcooked on that one.
Yeah. So look, it was an impressive performance. It was more than we expected.
It's definitely exciting as fuck.
I do think in the last couple of games, their performance was overstated. I do not think the last 2 games were close. At any point, you look at the gold.
The thing that, if you don't know, Monty was saying facetiously early that if Gen.G wins Worlds now, no, FlyQuest wasn't the second best team at Worlds, you fucking marks. Because by the way, I'm just going to say it right now. I said it earlier. I actually think this is going to give like Corpium and Horpium to all the other teams. And then Gen.G probably just beat them easily. You know what I mean? Like, because no one's going to play like this against them, mate. Like, probably just win Worlds now. There you go. Sound.
Yeah. So, for FlyQuest, I think, though, you are looking forward to this team running it back because they did show consistent improvement throughout the year. The question is whether you want Bwipo or not, or you want a more standard top laner. But also the question becomes, I mean, you can't replace him really with anybody in NA. Like, is there an upgrade in NA? Like, Impact, maybe, but I don't think he's leaving TL. And so who do you get at that point in time? I mean, Broken Blade would be great, but G2 is not going to let him go. That's it. Basically, unless you go, try and get somebody from Korea. But even the Korean tops are not insane. Like, if FlyQuest can pick up Zeus off of his free agency at the end of this year, immense. They have the money to do it. But will they? That's an entirely different question, right?
By the way, I said it earlier as well. You have to look at that with Bwipo is there's always a downside also to his game. Like, he is going to do these picks that don't work sometimes, and he is going to do ego picks. And by the way, he's always going to do it, Monty, where he's always going to go for fucking players in lane, mate. Whether it's necessary or not, they are all necessary to Bwipo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but that's the problem is, like, he wants to be the hero. Like, he has this fucking insane superhero complex that is both, you see, in his personality.
Syndrome. By the way, it's the same thing we always said in CS about the guy Cadian. They don't just want to win. They want to be the one that made the play, that made the call, so when you win, it's like, they did it, And the downside of that is sometimes it's not appropriate for you to carry, or sometimes you have to let yourself be carried and things like that, and don't. And by the way, obviously, Bwipo, he's never, the joke is he's never done anything graciously. He's never lost graciously. He's never tweeted graciously. He's never done anything.
I brought this up on Power Spike, Thorin, but I've got to hear you get pissed at this because it's going to be so funny. So a couple hours after the game ends, he tweets this gem. Are you ready for it?
Go on, hit me with it.
It's tough to stay positive, but we made you guys believe. That was the goal.
Oh, fuck off. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Winning was the goal. The goal was never the idea that we were like, I actually believe it's possible. Oh, do you believe now? Well, now I can just lose. What are you talking about? And also, what I can't believe is this. You know what? I'm just going to say it, Monty. We were all laughing when Bwipo made those unhinged stream comments where he was doing that shit where it was like, look, I actually like Merwin. He's just fucking subhuman trash on Italy. And we're like, what are you talking about? And go, do you have AIDS? Like, that seemed funny, right? Except he obviously was having some sort of mental health episode, right? I don't think he's like recovered in like a few weeks, boys, because some of the tweets he's been making recently are the craziest main character syndrome I've ever seen. He made a tweet, by the way, guys, where you can almost boil it down for real to like, guys, it's all right. I've had a personal conversation with Adam, so he's now allowed to play in the LEC. He's the best. Like, what are you talking? You don't like the fucking. What are you talking? What does that even mean? You mentalist.
He's the GM of all of League of Legends. It turns out.
I know. He's like, guys, I've vetted him. He's apologized to me, so it's okay. He can now play League of Legends.
Him saying this is like Martin Luther King Jr. saying, like, the purpose of this was just to have a dream, guys. It wasn't to actually enact real change, in the civil rights movement. The purpose was the dream. It's like, of course, making you guys believe wasn't your goal. In fact, Bwipo, no one said that was the goal the entire year you worked on FlyQuest. At 0 points in time in any team meeting did somebody sit down and say, Bwipo, our goal is to make the fans believe. No, you plan to win at every possible point in time.
What he was trying to do, Monty, is he's trying to make out like this whole world's run was basically the film 300, and it was just to show that the God Emperor could bleed, to give the later... You have to understand, the Battle of Thermopylae comes next year, Monty, when the Western teams believe finally they can overcome the Koreans, and then they do beat them. This time couldn't happen. It was just about showing you the spirit of the fighting Greek in this particular scenario.
I mean, shout out to...
Yeah, go on.
Shout out to Leonidas. I mean, he delayed them so that the Athenian fleets could actually beat the Persians.
Sure.
So I guess what we're saying is that congrats, you didn't even delay them though. You just straight up lost, and then maybe somebody down the road is going to come and finish them off, but it won't be you.
And then what actually shows you that everything Bwipo actually has the most crazy fucking main character syndrome I've ever seen, because everything he says is just like a humble brag to himself. Like when Masso, did you see the tweet he did to Masso where he basically just said like sort of like you had a great, great worlds. Like the way you played allowed me to do the way I played allowed you to.
You trusted me to do my thing and played every situation to the best of your ability. Only one AD has ever lived up to that before you. Be proud.
He's just implying like reckless there, we're assuming from like the old teams before, which I don't even get because by the way, upset was mega when he played with Bwipo, but let's just ignore that. And then also why don't you have to be in it though? Like, it's like he just goes, listen, you played great. The way that you let me play great and win those games was fucking... Everything's just you, innit, Bwipo? You're fucking mental, mate. It's so mad. Why can't you just give like a genuine comment? You played great, Master. How about that? Just about that. That's me. You know what? In the past, I've only seen one other guy that did that. Look, and also, even though he wasn't directly saying that, Monty, I do sort of think if you're going to be very uncharitable, like I choose to be, that tweet almost does say, like I said on Twitter, it's like he just goes, "Great tournament, kid. You're not as good as Reckless." Like that's my like really uncharitable reinterpretation of his compliment.
This would be insanely entertaining if he was Caps. But he's not Caps.
Of course, I know.
He's not Caps. Like if he was definitively the best player on his team, he's not even close to the best. Guys, at best, he's the third best player on his team. He is maybe the fifth best player on his team. Okay, at best third, probably fourth, possibly fifth. Right. And the funny thing is, he's saying this to a player who played better at Worlds than he did. Like, the reason they did well was because Masu was a fucking beast.
And also, not to be a nitpicky little cunt, but spoiler, I am going to do that for the rest of my life. I'll just say this. Did he let you do your thing on set?
What was your thing, in fact?
I know. What was your thing? I know. It's better than it. So better. I love it, though.
So, yeah. I don't know, man. Like, the insanity of some of these tweets is...
Also, I'll just point this out, right? Remember, guys, even though, yes, in this series, inarguably, it's a fact, FlyQuest did win 2 single individual games against like a top Asian team. They didn't technically, Monty, win a match against any Asian teams at Worlds. They didn't win a BO1, they didn't win a BO3, they didn't win a BO5. That's a fact. Now, look, they did win 2 individual games, they did not win a match. So all I'm saying is they did not win a match. So... But then again, maybe my mistake, Monty, was they were just making us believe. And the weirdest thing about that is that sounds like you're actually intentionally doing a KT roster. You're getting us excited, then subverting our expectations and ruining them. Why are you Ryan Johnson, Bwipo? Why is that who you are? And also, even though it's a bit tactless, because yes, he does probably have mental health problems, the fact that people are calling him bipolar or whatever, it's like, fair play. You know what? Okay, it's fucked up. I have a dark sense of humor. I'll give you that one. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. I can't lie, Also, like, I do feel like there has to be some sort of meme at this point in time where it's like, this guy cannot fucking resist the Renekton angle, bro. He just can't, can he? This guy would pick Renekton over like the joke is if he actually had Sophie's choice, they're like, you kill your family member or you pick Renekton. He'd be like, well, sorry kids, but in lane, I am pretty sick on it. It's like, what are you talking about? I need to live with Listen, on this Renekton, I can do everything though, and
that's how Masu dies.
Yeah, there you go. That's how Game X. That's how all the other games where you pick Renekton go ball. It's all good. And also, he needs to learn there's a difference between your Renekton in LCS and at Worlds, bro. You're playing against Keen, you mad fuck. You are aware he's like the best top player there, along with Bin. You're playing against him. You're picking Renekton. As though. By the way, imagine Keen like, oh my god, Bwipo just locked in Renekton. I know, it's so mental, isn't it? I also do lucky hit. Listen, I'll just admit my biases, Monty. Even though it did work somehow, I do just hate that Urgot pick still works. Because that's another one where it's like people just don't know the champion, bro. Like he actually does just do like that fair death shit through the wall, like Madlo style and catch people. Like I hate it so much. It's like some solo cube shit. I hate it so much.
To be fair, he did a good job of being behind and then buying Black Cleaver, so his 2 AD carries would have armor shred.
There you go. He did do that.
I mean, arguably, Bwipo did win that game by TPing bot and giving Masu 2 kills in the early. Now, should that have happened? Probably not. Right? Probably that shouldn't have happened.
7D chess.
But it did happen.
Sure.
So I don't know. Like I look at some of these, performances by Gen.G, and I think the story here is like great performance by FlyQuest, definitely more than anybody reasonably expected, but also like, can Gen.G survive their side of the bracket is going to be the major question, because they didn't look good, right? And what I hate about Gen.G is that people are like, oh, Gen.G's choking, and you realize it's a different coaching staff, and 3 out of the 5 players have changed from last year, right, guys? It's really not the same team anymore. So Chovy didn't have a good performance. Maybe you chalk it up to him, but it looked to be like their draft strategy coming in was a little wonky. They looked rusty. People have said having 2 weeks, between your last game, if you 3-0 and the first one here, does make it hard to like keep the pressure on as a roster, because when there's such a long break, it's hard to like keep yourself like focused and highly motivated and in the grind day to day. Maybe that was a part of it. Maybe we'll see a better performance moving on. The teams that have gone 3-0 in the we only have the 2 Swiss stages at Worlds to look at, but the teams that have gone 3-0 have been slow starting. They have been slow starting. So perhaps that's part of it as well. LNG lost.
Yeah, the joke would be, because of when they all qualified, Gen.G just spent the last week and a half just practicing as Hanwha Life and LNG, so you saw how that went. Maybe they weren't the best teams, it turns out, guys. Maybe they indeed were not.
So, yeah, I mean, who knows if they even took some time off? Like, I have no idea. It's definitely, if you're trying to like min-max your performance, maybe you do want a day or 2 break there just to kind of take it easy, so you don't burn out. Anyway, I think it was good. It's probably going to be overrated. I don't anticipate that this performance is necessarily going to be repeatable for anybody. So perhaps a bit of false hope.
And especially in the playoffs, there's so much time. The next series, you've done a full reset.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.